Hello, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. Today, we're chatting with Jocelyn Southard, Grade 1 classroom teacher at UWC Singapore. Jocelyn has taught almost every grade level, and she's been a digital literacy coach, so she's able to see both the teacher and coach's point of view as we discuss innovative ideas in teaching and learning. Today's Spotlight episode features a highlight of this conversation where we talk about the incredibly busy lives of classroom teachers and just how valuable the physical presence of a coach during classroom learning time can be. If you enjoy any part of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more conversations like this, please subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell to find out every time we release a new episode. Remember, you can also listen to the full Coach Better episode wherever you get your podcasts. We are passionate about the impact coaching can have on student learning, school culture, and teacher professional growth, and we want to help you coach better. We've got some great opportunities for more learning after today's conversation, so stick around all the way to the end. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better. Tonight I'm here with Jocelyn from United World College in Singapore. Jocelyn, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your teaching experience?
Hi, so my name is Jocelyn Sutherland, and I'm a Canadian who's been teaching overseas for about 12 years now. I started my career in Kiev, Ukraine, and then moved to Beijing, China, Indonesia, Switzerland, and now I'm in Singapore. So I've kind of taught a range of grades from grade 1 up to grade 5. I've also done EAL support, and my previous school I was digital literacy coach.
Awesome. What are your current goals, and how is coaching going to help you get there?
So I think my biggest goal, kind of moving into a new grade, is just finding ways to kind of make the learning more transdisciplinary for the children. Because as I mentioned before, with a play-based approach, we're sort of building, provocations for the children to sort of take and explore on their own. But we also kind of want to make sure that it's aligned with our curriculum. So I think one of the challenges is making sure that we're creating kind of meaty provocations that kind of address a broad range of concepts and skills. So I feel that we're very lucky to have 3 coaches. So we've got a math, a literacy, and a digital literacy coach. And one thing that I found super valuable that's happened so far already is when a coach kind of brings an idea to the classroom to use with children, and it's ready-made, and it's something that we're either doing together or something that they're leading and then we discuss and talk about afterwards. So something that I've really appreciated in the past is when sort of the DLC will come and work with a group of students, and maybe they're running a seesaw station or they're introducing a new app on the iPad. And then that's something that we can kind of follow up afterwards and see, how could we use that tool to deepen their understanding, in future lessons. Another thing that I found super valuable that I hope that they can continue to support us with is when we're doing our collaborative planning as a team, when a coach can come and sort of introduce an idea that we might not have thought about ahead of time. So, for example, the seesaw activities section had been in existence for a long time, but it wasn't really till Dave Caleb brought it to our attention in one of our team meetings a few years ago in grade 5. So I just appreciate when, the coaches can actually come and, have a little spotlight at the beginning of a meeting and sort of introduce an idea that hadn't been there before.
Okay, so this is something I struggle with all the time. As a coach, I always want what I'm doing in the classroom with the teacher to be something that comes from the teacher's needs. When I talk to teachers, they always say, I love it when the coach comes in with the pre-planned activity that they just do and we can follow up afterwards. How do we meet in the middle? Because I feel like that is like an immediate tension all the time for me personally as a coach and almost every coach that I talk to or work with.
Well, I feel like because I was a coach for 2 years in Switzerland, so I had the other perspective of kind of showing up at an agreed time, having a vague idea of what I was going to do, but then either that plan got dropped or the teacher forgot, or it didn't quite go as we had agreed, and just sort of feeling like I wasn't actually as supportive as I had hoped to be. And I think having moved out of that coaching role back into the classroom, I remember how when you do actually want to meet with a coach and sort of plan something together, you're still thinking about something that has just happened in the class a few minutes ago, or you're concerned about just small minutia, following up with a parent email, or parent-teacher conferences coming up, that I feel like I don't have the same headspace I had when I was a coach to spend developing ideas. And I don't know the best way to do that. I feel that coaches really need to be a part of the meetings, and that, of course, includes an invitation from the team or the head of grade to be, on a schedule meeting and deciding maybe on one area of the learning that can be kind of the focus for that coach, if that makes sense. So, if we have a narrative writing unit coming up, could the literacy coach, for example, could her job for our grade 1 literacy narrative writing unit be that she pulls some, fractured fairy tales and does a mini lesson with children, and she comes to each classroom and does that. Like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. Or for the DLC, could that look like finding the right tool to try on the iPads, or helping to set up, helping to run a seesaw station with children and teaching them, how to record in a more efficient way, or how to take a picture of their work in a more efficient way. These are just, again, ideas that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. But I feel that when I was a coach, I also felt like I didn't have the right direction, and I didn't want to overstep and assume that a teacher wanted to do a specific thing. But now that I'm in the class and I feel that I'm not using the coaches as well as I could be, that is something that I would love to start happening, is to have them be responsible for just one little pocket of our unit that's coming up. Even if it's not every unit, if it's like 4 units in the year. And of course, it depends on the size of the staff as well in the school. But
I think it's funny that you, having been the coach and the teacher, you have the same internal fear, as a coach, I'm not doing the right thing. As a teacher, I'm not using the coach enough. And it's a good reminder, I think, for both parties in this relationship that everybody's trying to do the best that they can. And sometimes, even as a coach, if it feels like it's not perfect, that you go in and you just do something that's maybe one step farther removed than what you really would like to be in terms of what's going on in the classroom, that's still many steps closer than not doing anything at all.
Exactly.
And, yeah. So I think that it's hard for me sometimes to wrap my mind around it, especially because being a technology coach, which I know that's what you were, a digital literacy coach, the time it takes to learn the tech stuff sometimes can be so long. And I don't ever want it to backfire that in the end, the teacher's like, well, figuring out how to do X, Y, and Z took us 4 lessons, but in the end, it wasn't even really what I wanted to do. And so then it's like, but this was, my idea. You know what I mean? So I'm always struggling with that kind of balance in my head, that just like you said, I want to be as close as possible to what the teacher's goals are for their students, but I don't want to be a burden on the teacher. And I know the teacher feels the same way. They want to be taking advantage of all that a coach can offer, but they don't necessarily have the headspace to, sit down and have an hour-long planning meeting about one 45-minute session.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like it needs to be kind of like trial it first, just take, as a coach, I'm thinking. So if I was to go into my coaching role again, I would coach completely different. Maybe not completely differently, but I would definitely adjust what I was doing from before and take more risks. And I think what I would recommend is to myself, my future self, if I was to go back into coaching, is take more risks, bring an idea, ask the teacher you're most comfortable with on the team to try it out in their classroom. If you can meet or start a Google Doc and just write your own reflections about it, and you can either kind of have a virtual meeting that way, or just find 15 minutes afterwards to discuss how it went. And then from there, you've got a little seed that can kind of grow into something else, which might spread, to other classrooms in that same team. And so that's the only way I can kind of see a bridge. And I know it's putting it on the coach to kind of take the first step, but I feel that now that I'm back in the classroom and I feel like my head is constantly swimming, and I know coaches are swimming too, because they're managing so many different people and so many different teams. But I feel that we look to you as kind of the creative genius that we're not quite reaching because we're so bogged down by recess issues or, concerns about parent emails and, assessments. So I feel that we kind of look to you to sort of take the first step and plant that seed that we can then grow into a bigger idea and maybe a bigger collaboration.
I think you have hit a nail on the head. I don't even know if you meant it this way, but when you describe the way that you would plan now, I think it's a lot more like I started when I was first coaching, like almost 20 years ago, because I didn't know how, like what the idealized version of coaching should look like. And I think now that idealized version is so much more prevalent, we're like hesitant to go back to this.
Can you tell me what the idealized method
it's this co-planning process that we come to, the teacher approaches you that they have this goal for their learning student. You have this time together to plan this out. It's like an entirely collaborative environment where you're co-teaching in the classroom and, maybe you're looking at the finished student work together and then you're coming back and saying like what worked and what didn't work. And there's all this opportunity for reflection and the teacher goes through all this professional growth and the coach is getting data and, hearing from the students and sharing that with the teacher. Like, it's just such a big thing. And not to say that we shouldn't be doing that, because I think that is important, but maybe that happens, where you have where the teacher has a very specific thing that's part of their own professional goal. And that's when we're doing this bigger. But then there's other parts of our day that can be a 20-minute pop in, here's something on Seesaw, to use your example, that your kids would love. Can I do a rotation where I, meet with all your kids in the next 20 minutes, whatever. So I think it's a reminder that because we're so excited about this idealized version of coaching, not everything we do every single day is going to be this perfect professional growth moment. Even saying it is like hilarious.
And I also think I think coaches might be getting one message about how you should be coaching, but teachers might be getting a different message or thinking about it differently than coaches are. And I think it depends also on if it's that teacher's first year in the grade or first year at the school or 15th year at the school or in that grade. I think, how you explained, just it is a bit of an ideal that everyone has that much time to sit down and go through this, coaching process. And maybe it will just be, your top 10% that are interested in kind of pursuing that. But in the meantime, there's the other 80 to 90% who just need someone in the room to, or someone they want to build a relationship with. And that might just be that, 15, 20 minutes rotation, seed planting.
And in one of my previous calls last year, Trisha said that she always has to remember that each conversation is like a step in the staircase of a coaching relationship. And I think that like DLC framework, that it can be a small step, but it's a step in that staircase. I think that's a good way to look at it. That wraps up today's episode of Coach Better Spotlight. If you want to catch the rest of the recording, find it wherever you get your podcasts under the name Coach Better. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and catch us on social media at Eduro Learning or follow the hashtag Coach Better. As promised, here is our exciting new professional learning opportunity that we're super pumped to be bringing straight to you. Time to talk is crucial for today's modern educator. We know that so many of you are juggling a lot because your students, your peers, and your stakeholders mean so much to you. We know that sometimes this means making it to a conference or a weekend workshop is not always your best option. And we know that even when you do make it to that conference, you may not have been able to dig as deeply into a topic as you wanted to. You might have been left with unfinished conversations. Your students, peers, and stakeholders deserve professional development that recognizes the challenges of a modern educator. Eduro gets it. We are responding to change in our professional world, and we build the professional development that we want to be part of personally. This year, Eduro wants to harvest your willingness to always learn more, your eagerness to do dialogue diligently. That's why this year we are proud to invite your voice to a brand new type of learning, Mastermind Ed. We know that groupthink is the enemy of creativity. That's why Mastermind Ed focuses on harnessing diversity of thought and context. We know that sometimes best practice is simply the result of not having new practice as part of the conversation. That's why Mastermind Ed focuses on making time for provocative perspectives. And we know that professional development that isn't tailored to you just shouldn't be called professional development. That's why Mastermind Ed prides itself on paving pathways with you. Who is Mastermind Ed for? If you have a role in school or education, this is for you. Whether the topic is brand new or you consider yourself an expert, Mastermind Ed will stretch your thinking and help you clarify key questions. By joining a Mastermind Ed, you'll bring back actionable ideas to your school, and you will have a network of educators to think with. So get ready for an online learning environment that values you, your time, and your school. Join us for Mastermind Ed, an opportunity that sparks, sustains, and supplements your inspiration. Early bird registration starts October 7th, 2019, and Mastermind Ed groups start January 13th, 2020. Find out more at edurolearning.com.